Yo, what is up? I'm Zeph, and for this video we're going to be taking a look at the new incoming mercenaries that will come in global probably around next week or next week. Now this batch is going to be the Anastasia, Antonio, and Kanna batch, and I'm pretty positive that they're coming in the they're coming next because they have been delayed for 2 patches now, and there's really no reason to delay it for a 3rd time. Also, please do note that I've only been playing the game for over a month, so if I do get some information wrong, please do enlighten me, and yeah, let's get to it. Let's start off with the 4-star merc, which is Kanna. I'm actually not sure if her name is really Kanna, or if I'm getting a weird translation, but yeah, she is a warrior with a front cross attack pattern. Here, her first skill is similar to Victor's 2nd skill. She increases her attack after a normal attack, and then she consumes health every time she attacks, which by that I instantly do not like her. At +0, it increases her attack by 50% and maxes out at +3 with 100%. But then again, she does have a low attack base, so yeah. Her 2nd skill is an additional damage to defenders, almost exactly like Alec's 2nd skill. It starts at 150% at +0 and maxes out at +10 with 275% damage. The only difference though is that if the target dies during this attack, she heals for 100% HP, while Alec only heals for 50%. But with the one-shot meta right now, I don't really think it's a big deal. Her 3rd skill is another additional damage after attack that works regardless of class. It's 75% additional damage at +0 and maxes out at +10 with 150% additional damage. And lastly, her awakening skill is a 65% defense buff before a normal attack, so that kind of gives her a little bit of safety from counters. But I don't think it's gonna save her from attacking something like Jin or Hell. Like, you could possibly give her a shield runes to get 100% def, but that's gonna make her attack even lower. And overall, I just don't think it's gonna make an impact. I don't think she's gonna make an impact, primarily because her skills and stats seem kinda awkward. Yeah. Okay, let's proceed to the 2nd merc, which is a 5-star defender, Antonio. He attacks with a skip and hits an entire column, and as far as I know, he is the only one with this kind of attack pattern. His first skill is a concentrated fire debuff. Now, if you don't know what this is, it's a debuff that makes your mercs focus their attacks on the target with a concentrated fire debuff. And as far as I know or noticed, it allows you to completely ignore the enemy's taunt. I don't think it works with taunt ignore units like Leto though. His concentrated fire debuff lasts 18 turns, and it's going to be the longest one in the game, with Elijah coming in the 2nd place with 16 turns. In comparison to Elijah though, he gets his 18 turns at +0, while Elijah needs at least +3 to get 16 turns. At +6, it gets a 20% stat reduction debuff that maxes out at +8 with 50%, which is the same with Elijah. Okay, let's go to his 2nd skill, which is pretty much a weaker version of Aaron's 2nd skill. It's a healing after getting attacked that heals depending on the damage received by the normal attack, so exactly like Aaron's, but it's weaker. At +0, it heals for 40% and it maxes out at +5 with 80% healing and a 25% damage reduction. Now, his 3rd skill is kinda interesting. It's a barrier that grants damage reduction and healing, similar to Valtor, Edwin, Sigmund, and yada yada, but there's a twist. It doesn't activate when the battle starts. It activates after attack. So unlike all the existing ones we have right now, Antonio can keep refreshing this buff every time he attacks. Now at +0, it gives him a 25% damage reduction and a 2% healing per turn, and it maxes out at +10 with the same 25% damage reduction, but increases the healing to up to 10% per turn. Now, for the duration, it starts with 12 turns at +0, and 18 turns at +9, and 24 turns at +10. Now, here's a more interesting thing which I'm actually not sure about, but I think the buff can be stacked, and it applies multiple times depending on how many mercs he hits during his attack, which I think is some pretty crazy healing and like more damage reduction. But I'm not really sure about this information, but yeah, so if anyone can confirm, please do so. Also, I almost forgot that this barrier is irremovable, it cannot be pillaged, and it cannot be copied, so he is pretty much safe from making Walya into a god. Anyway, his awakening skill is a permanent debuff immunity. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Permanent debuff immunity, the end. So my thoughts about Antonio is that he is definitely one of a kind. He is the only one with a column skip attack pattern and a regen barrier that procs on attack. On paper, he seems like he's very tanky with the number of healing sources he has, but I don't think he's gonna get away with the one-shots. Aaron's probably going to be tankier with a higher base HP and much more useful because of his taunt and reflect. Antonio does offer a concentrated fire debuff, but I honestly don't think it's that good because if you're gonna use him in arena, you would have to make him attack first before your actual attacker, which will waste an entire turn, and since your opponent gets to move after Antonio, your attacker might end up dead before they actually take advantage of the concentrated fire. I mean, you're probably going to be better off just using a skip attacker. Like, if you're going to use something like a Rignet or Foxy, you're probably not going to have to. There's not going to be any much use for this concentrated fire, unless, of course, you need it to attack something like on a different lane. He is unique, I'll give him that, but the only way I see him being used is on Arcstar with Ventana. Other than that, I just don't think he is going to make an impact. So let's proceed to the one a lot of us are looking forward to. Anastasia, the teapot cannon girl, which I actually really like by design. She reminds me so much of an alchemist on Ragnarok Online or May on Seven Nights. But yeah, she is a warrior with a cross-skip attack pattern, and her first skill is a weakening debuff that increases the damage taken of the target and lasts 10 turns and applied after attack. At +0, the damage increase is at 30% and maxes out at +3 with 60% damage increase and a barrier removal after attack. Her second skill is an additional damage that's guaranteed to hit the main target, which is the one in the center of the cross. And correct me if I'm wrong, the other targets only get hit with the additional damage if they are either supports or warriors. So if they're defenders or magicians, I don't think they will get hit by the additional damage. But they will probably still be hit with the normal attack. And if I'm not entirely sure about this, if anyone can confirm this, please do so down below. And yeah, +0, the additional damage is 150% and it maxes out at +10 with 250% additional damage. I think that's really good. Now, let's go to our third skill, which is really nice because it's basically Valze's third skill. Now, she gets a bonus crit chance and attack based on her crit damage. Yeah, so definitely a Valze third skill. At +0, it's only a bonus crit rate, which is 15% of her total crit damage, but at +6, she gets a bonus attack, which is 10% of her crit damage. At +9, she maxes out to 25% and 30% respectively. What's pretty cool is that her percent scalings at +9 are actually higher than Valze's third skill at +10. Valze only gets a 20% attack buff, 20% attack scaling, 20% attack bonus based on crit damage, at +10, while Anastasia gets 30% at +9. But Anastasia does have a lower attack base, so yeah, it's a bit weird though how her percent scaling is higher than a legendary. Anyway, on to her awakening skill, which is a permanent stat weakening immunity. It's really very nice, because that means she does not need to worry about attacking things like levia or seir or anything pretty much with a curse counter. This also, I think, will have a big impact in the current meta right now, because currently Ceres is top support for Arena, and it's primarily as well, aside from she does provide really good offensive buffs, she gives the very important stat weakening immunity with which people would want to have on their damage dealers. Now, since Anastasia has this immunity, she would not benefit as much from Ceres. And with the current meta right now, where most people are running mercs or octos with immunity, Ceres only really gives the immunity to damage dealers without the immunity, like for example Rignet, Leto, Valze, or Foxy. Now, for teams that only run one warrior that needs the stat weakening immunity that Ceres provides, like for me example, I only really need the immunity for Rignet. Replacing Rignet with Anastasia will allow me to replace Ceres with another support, like let's say something like Walya, and I think that will make a very big difference with the current meta right now. So to sum it all up, I don't think Kanna and Antonio will be making a big impact in the meta right now, but Anastasia will most definitely be meta when the patch drops. She's very good. She has very good range. She has really good damage because she can stack crit damage, and has also self immunity to stat weakening. Will I be getting her? Yeah, I'm saving all my pulls for her right now, and if I don't get her, I might use my mileage on her, but I'm also not sure because I also really need Walya, and I also want Seir, but for the most part, I really need to mileage Walya. So I guess it's gonna be a battle between putting my mileage on either Anastasia or Walya, but I definitely hope I pull Anastasia on the banner so that I can have both of them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you found this helpful, please do leave it a like, and maybe subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, and if you want to go the extra mile, maybe subscribe to my personal channel. Wow, what a perfect time for the dog to be. Yeah. If you want to subscribe to my personal channel, the link will be on the description, and I'll see you. Wow, the dog is really mad right now. Shut up! And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.